When entering the survival horror, relationships with weapons are fairly different than perhaps your average game. Guns represent power and the ability to defend oneself, but are cumbersome, taking up valuable item slots. Usually, survival horror games are comfortable giving you an initial weapon that it understands is not going to make you a one-man army. A pistol that takes 9 headshots to truly kill a zombie, or some sort of semi-meaningless melee weapon, these weapons are never supposed to be reliable or even quote-unquote fun to use. The game needs to prop the player up, give them some sort of confidence in their self-defense, and truly let them begin worming through the horrors the environment has to offer. To continue on examining the theme as weapons as tools, we've established that the initial weapon or weapons may be relatively futile to fight with, barring expensive cost of resources or health. A shotgun is an often given choice that acts as sort of a monkey paw's wish for the player. Perhaps a player who cursed the uselessness of their 9mm would have traded anything for a weapon that more reliably protected them, unable to consider the ramifications of horror. Now the game can reasonably up the ante, introducing monsters that are most often much more lethal. The catch being that you have a weapon that now has some sort of knockback or stun that it can inflict, saving oneself from being pounced on. Despite this weapon being much stronger than the pistol, there are 2 new costs for the player to consider when weighing out when to use the newfound tool. First should be obvious when thinking about the shotgun. While the pistol took much longer to kill, it offered a chance to fight at long to mid-range. Now, the shotgun demands a much closer proximity, especially to get the most value out of your even rarer ammo. Some games offer further mechanics to reward a player who is comfortable with the tools and is making clear-headed decision-making about when to equip it or even fire it. Consider how Resident Evil rewarded you so heavily for properly spending a resource and knowing how to position yourself to do it the most effectively. Furthermore, despite the power spike the shotgun wielding player experiences, the shotgun settles quite nicely into the overall game experience. By this I mean, the shotgun is often a second weapon that is offered greater power, but there's usually a magnum or some sort of other weapon coming down the line that would greatly challenge the shotgun for its inventory space. This is the game's last true hold on your terror, where the player is not 100% sure of the threats ahead or their ability to defend themselves. By the time a lightning hawk or a flamethrower has been acquired, the player now has tiers of expense they can cash for protection and most likely understands, to some degree, what they should be saving their strongest kinds of ammo for. Yet another point to consider is that the scrutiny of item usage is constantly up against the fear that players will often experience, especially in their first experiences with the game. I mentioned clear-headed decision-making with your tools, and I'd like to touch on that as a final point. While your brain understands that you have 2 shotgun shells and a long way to go to any safe room, paranoia and fear can cause the player to shoot at various things, punishing panic reactions or shaky decision-making. It can be hard to sympathize with this after a few runs and general experience with the genre, but it's important to remind ourselves that whilst our tools are of the utmost importance, the experience of having such reactions are what makes these games incredibly memorable. Survival horror remains such an exquisite part of gaming because of its ability to truly immerse you in it. So much of survival horror is carefully crafted, including everything that makes up its atmosphere. When you accidentally panic fire or shoot one too many rounds into a fearsome foe, while these could be considered tactical failures, they're successes of the game. The atmosphere that has swallowed you into a world where some of the most memorable music has you shaking as you nervously approach the door at the furthest end of the hallway. Ammo counts and their counterparts become real, where you may as well be nervously checking your own pocket to keep an eye on how few you're down to. Entering the survival horror challenges you, but there is one forever true fact. Old Reliable is going to get you through.